the Laughing Monkey Music Show. How you doing tonight, Doug?
I'm doing great. I love the name, the Laughing Monkey. That's awesome.
Thank you. Well, the story was, real briefly, is they say you know, what's it about, and you say remember Mother Love Bone? Andy
Yeah.
Wood came up and said, "Mother Love Bone, Led Zeppelin, Laughing
Uh,
Monkey Music." That's
I
my
love
joke
it.
towards it. It's my nod, but it's kind of funny, right?
Jeff gave me a T-shirt when he was in Mother Love Bone, and it was half monkey ape boy or something, half monkey.
half-ass monkey boy, half-ass monkey
half-ass
boy.
monkey boy. I have a T-shirt of that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I never got to meet Andrew, but me and Jeff were friends back when they were making their first record. He invited me to come out and hang out in San Francisco when they were making it. And we just, you know, King's X wasn't that well known, and I didn't have that money, kind of money just to fly out there.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I didn't. But that's I've heard so much about Andrew. It's amazing.
I heard he was a burning star. I heard he's just a bundle of energy, like positive, just you know, burned out fast. So I like that. I saw like pieces of him, you know, and I was like, I like the rhythm of that 1, 2, 3 punch.
Yeah,
and it's all things I like. So it was just, it felt together. It felt musical. I don't know. So, well, you have been a very busy man in your career. You are just always doing something.
Always.
Always. With COVID going on, and you're saying you do some lyrics, and you've been doing a lot of stuff. Do you have any big projects you're working on right now that you're working towards? That
I just finished my solo record about 3 weeks ago, and I just got the mastering done last week. And now we're working on cover and when to put it out and all that kind of stuff, and records and 45s and CDs and, you know, and the whole package, trying to do some cool stuff with it. It's going to be on our Rat Pack Records. But we'll let you know if we're going to spew it out there soon, you know.
Yeah, let me know.
And so I've been working on that for the last couple months, actually. Well, actually, there's songs I've written in the last 2 years, because King's X, I took 17 of them to King's X, and then I took about 5 of them that King's X rejected, and about 8 of songs that we just never got to, and made my own record and got the drummer and played everything on it, and I'm really happy with it. It's you know, you do what you do. I'm 70 years old, and I'm going, okay, you know, I'm finally getting to a place where I'm starting to like what I'm doing, which is just a good thing. Yeah.
I can't believe you're 70. I didn't realize it. You know that?
Wow.
I was talking to my wife the other day. I'm like, you know, because you always think of yourself as not your age. Not like you think of yourself as like a teenager, but you don't really think of yourself till you like walk by the mirror. You're like, who's that old dude looking at me? You don't really, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
I see it.
I always feel like I'm in that mindset, and I'm like, I was looking at something. I said, he cannot be. Yeah. First off, you totally don't look at it. I'm like, there's no way.
Thanks.
I like 70. My grandfather couldn't even get out of a chair or something. Like, I'm like, you're like rocking out.
I'm
like in better shape
my
than I was in my 20s.
I'm riding my bike and doing aerobics. Shit.
Yeah, I don't think I was in your shape when I was in my 20s.
Oh, bless you.
You're in great shape. So
thanks.
Yeah, you're. I don't know if you like sleeping in those chambers or something, or I don't know, man.
No. It's just, I think it's just learning nutritionally, learning what your body needs through years of research and hit and miss. You know, everything that would come out that was the new thing. You know, that was, you know, I tried, you know, and I'd read up on, and I'd see the pros and cons and take for a while and then stop taking it. And, you know, and through the years and years and years and years of doing this, since I was about 21, I started to get an interest in just nutrition and keeping my body healthy. The biggest reason is because all my old relatives were always complaining about their knees hurting, their back hurting, you know, and I noticed that people got old and they just were miserable. And I went, I do not want to be like this. I don't. And so for some reason, in the back of my mind, it was just saying, you know, keep an eye on everything, you know, keep an eye on what you're doing. And as a result of it, I've been able to keep my body pretty clean from the crap that everybody eats, that causes heart coronaries and all the problems that people are having nowadays. I've eliminated those things out of my diet years ago. And since I have good genes and my relatives usually live to at least 95, I have an aunt who's 102 right now.
Wow.
I would say 4 of my relatives who are exactly my age are still as skinny as me, and they're still looking great. They didn't take care of themselves well, so you can tell
Well, the
that
skinny is a different thing, though. You know, I mean,
y-
you're different skinny. You're not skinny. You're like lean and muscular. I
yeah, well,
mean,
that's
it's
what I'm
different.
saying. Lean and muscular. That's some of my family. They just never gain weight, no matter how old they are. So I'm saying I got a few relatives my age that
Oh
that
wow.
are still that thin, you know. Last time I went home to visit, my mom died not too long ago, and I went home and I
Sorry
saw
about
my
that.
cousin. Thanks. Saw my cousin Carolyn and my uncle David, who are my age, exactly my age, and we're the same size. You know, and I'm going, wow, we're 68, 69, 70 years old in that bracket. So I was thinking, I want to contribute to all my healthy living and whatever, but a lot of things is just in your genes, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So when I realized it's the genes, I thought, well, I might as well work on it anyway. Let's not take it for granted. Okay, that's the whole point, and that's my
Oh,
secret, I
that's
guess.
good. That's good. I just always kind of curious there. I mean, you so
No, no,
you
no.
said
I'm an open book.
you have a lot of relatives there. I think I'm kind of
I
surprised to hear,
have
but
a
a little
Yeah,
backstory there.
on my dad's side and mom's side, both. My dad had 7 brothers and sisters, I believe, and they all have kids, and their kids have kids, and their kids have kids. And I didn't know my dad that well, but I know that wherever I run into any of his relatives, I am told that there's like around 500 of them, and they all come from Lowell County, Mississippi, and most of them are in Joliet, Illinois, where I grew up. If you were a Bates, a Pinnick, or a Thompson, you were probably related to somebody in that family. That's the way
Wow.
it was in Joliet. Yeah, I went to the high school I went to. I had 7 cousins who were my age that went to the high school on the other
Holy.
side of town. Yes, I lived on the other side of town, this little ghetto. But all my relatives were on the other. And I have an uncle who's my age, another uncle who's a year younger, and an aunt who's a year younger. And then the other uncle is 2 years older than me. And that's my grandmother's kids. My mother and my grandmother were having kids at the same time. My grandmother had my mom, and she had 16 kids. And there was a period of time where they had 4 kids and my mom had 4 kids at the same time. It's
Damn.
crazy, just babies everywhere. So my great grandmother raised me, and she had 14 brothers and sisters. She had 10 kids, and her daughter, who is my grandmother, had 16 kids, and my mother had 7.
I am blown away. It's like a nursery rhyme. You know,
Yeah,
like you
and
saw like of a
then
giant shoe or something. This is
uh-huh.
insane.
Like my brother has 6 daughters, Brad, and they're grown now, so they're having babies. My brother Larry lives in San Diego, and he married a Mexican girl, and they had 4 kids, and all their kids married Asians. So the kids are little Chinamen. It's beautiful. We've got our family. One
Yeah.
thing about our family we love is the diversity in our ethnicity. We always want to see what the kid's going to look
Mhm.
like because we're so mixed. And I've got relatives that look completely white, blonde hair, blue eyes, to people that look like Flavor Flav.
That is
And we're all sometimes all in the same family.
that's such a lineage of people. The amount
Yeah,
that's like, oh, that's
I love it.
insane.
I've always loved
It's
it.
cool.
My great grandmother raised me, and for some reason, I got a chance to be uh, uh, around all her 10 kids, and then my grandma's 16 kids or 14. I can't remember now what I've said, and my mom. So I remember as a kid, the situation I lived in was my great grandmother raised me, and my great grandmother had her daughter, and then her daughter had my mother, and then my mother had me, and my great grandmother raised all of us. And so I was in that lineup. I was in the big house with my great grandma and grandfather, and here's the family. So I always knew what was going on, and I always knew who belonged to who, and it just became an obsession with me. In our family, we're pretty much obsessed with the family tree. Every year we get together. I have a cousin who is a school teacher, and he studied our history for the last 25, 30 years. Yeah, genealogy, I guess. You know, we know we had relatives that fought in the Civil War. He found slave documents to prove who bought who from who, to help us understand where our family came from.
Yeah.
You know, in my dad's side, the same thing happened. His mom was born in an Indian reservation, and his dad was half white and half black. His dad was the son of the ship owner that brought his mother over from Africa, who was captured. So then that's a whole nother side of the family that I know just a little bit about, but it's pretty cool.
That's really amazing. There's a book in there. There is just.
You know, I never thought of that, but I should do that because it's pretty. It's
really
exciting. Yeah, it's fascinating. That's what it is.
Like I could talk about it all night. Honestly, like to me, I'm imagining all the people. I love when families mix and you know, different ethnic backgrounds come. We have, you know, mixture in our family. I love that, and because eventually I want the whole world to be one, like all mixed,
right?
Like a big snow globe, you know, shake it all up. So that's fantastic. And but
you know, it's funny how society is too, because the darker ones act more white and the whiter ones act more dark. You know, and it's like, it's somehow in society we're still taught we're judged. In the Black community, the lighter you are, the more you're judged, because back in slavery, the lighter you were, you got to work in the house, or you got the easy jobs, because basically you were a part of the slave owner's family, but wouldn't admit it. But and that became a part of our culture, you know. And then, you know, you got the other culture with black versus white. So then you got that to pile onto it. So the race in the Black culture, the different shades sort of dictate how you're treated in some ways.
I've heard that before.
In the Black community and in the white community.
That's horrible. That's like double horrible.
I remember growing up as a kid in the 50s. If you were a Black doctor or a Black lawyer or a Black dentist, you almost looked white. Everyone I went to was really light skinned with curly hair. And you never saw anybody that was really African, really dark Black skin, holding any kind of job that made money. And so you can see why the Black community had their nose up when they get mad at you, you know, and especially when those lighter skinned people would marry white people, and then their kids would look basically white, and then all of a sudden the community would shun them, but they couldn't live in the white community. So, you know, I would go to school with Black kids that looked white, but they talked Black, they lived in the Black community, and the white community looked at them as they're Black, and you couldn't even get a job if you wanted it, you know, because you were, what was it? And back in then, it was if you were 1/10 Black, then you were considered Black, period. And that's the way it was.
I couldn't imagine that. I mean,
it's
awesome.
I've been watching a lot of stuff on TV lately since we're home and we got time. You know, there's been a lot of this slavery stuff that came up, showing, you know, the reality, the stories, talking to slave owners and slaves who were still alive. They recorded a lot of these people before they died, and you hear the stories. And I mean, there was one story was, can you believe it? There was a Black man who owned slaves in the South. Somehow he did it, and he was rich, and somehow he finagled his way and got that respect. They said he was the worst slave owner ever. They said he treated the slaves worse than anybody. They said he treated slaves so bad that even the other slave owners thought he was going too far. You know, and then on the other hand, you got this one lady was telling me about the plantation she lived in. She said, they were good to me. She said, they always was good to me. And when I got old, they took care of me. They put me in a home, and somebody comes, takes care of me all the time. They've never given me any trouble, and they've always been good to me. You know, and then you got other people who'd say, yeah, we had to work in the field, and sometimes we had to work all night long. We'd be almost passing out till the sun came up, and we would get no sleep, and we just have to keep on working. And this one guy said they used to just throw food in a trough And they said all the kids and everybody just run to the trough and just grab what they could and try to eat it. He said they slept on the floor. He said they lived like animals. And then other people had other stories, you know. So this one family, to end it, this one family, the slave owner really loved this one slave and had 7 kids by her. So he didn't, they lived in the house and worked for him, but he took care of them. And when he died, he left the plantation to them. And they had to go through all kinds of legal battles to keep it, but they won. They won the place. And all kinds of stuff happened. But they ended up leaving. Something happened where they ended up giving it up, but they did legally win it. You know,
I
so
can
which
imagine
was
people around
America.
them weren't too happy about it. I'm sure
Well, no, not at all. They thought
you
they would
know,
be killed, and they would. You'd be
probably
killed.
force them out. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I can't even understand just on the simplest level of hurting somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying I can't, you know, it's just.
I can only understand this because when you're taught something from a child, I was taught religion from a child, so I had an attitude that sometimes this larger than life, like you're gonna go to hell,
Yeah, I do
and
too.
that's just that attitude. And then and there was like, even growing up, when I remember I'd say, Grandma, can I go play with my friend Harlan? He lived across in the field down the street. A little white boy from Tennessee. And I lived in Illinois. So he was a Southern kid that came up to live there. And he lived down the street. And my grandma said, no, you can't go over there and hang out with him. I heard his uncle is in prison. So, it's like people always go, this country has never been more divided. It's never changed.
Yeah.
It's just that Trump gave a voice to a bunch of people that have been silenced.
There's a lot that aren't even talking now.
Yeah.
Who are the rest of them?
Right. And as much as I don't like it, I can understand if you are suppressed, like Black people have been, Indians have been, whatever, right or wrong, when you stand up for your rights, that you feel you're right. These people feel the same way. They're not idiots. They're not stupid. They believe something that I don't agree with and believe it's a lot of fake news or whatever. That's my belief. But inside, these people really believe that they got to fight for their rights, like a Black man would, or an Indian would. So I back up and I challenge the world to look at it in that way. And then maybe we can figure out a way to get to meet, in a way where we can understand why a person is who he is and let them be who they are.
I think that's good. That's a very intelligent way to look at it, and it's very outside of yourself to look at it. And I would say the one caveat is the other communities, Black Lives Matters, Indian communities, are not violent, are not acting out like that.
Right.
You can't hold
you have a point there.
Skin color for that. The acting out.
Here's my answer, and I'm going to get hate mail for this, but white privilege makes you forget the severity of doing something. White people get away with more, so they're used to it. If Black people went up there to march, they know that if they broke in there, they would be dead. A white person goes in there, they just figure, oh, it's okay, we're white. And they're not saying it, and nobody's saying it, but that's in their heads way back. I mean, when I ride down the street and see a policeman, and back in Texas, I always got pulled over. And most of the time it was for no reason. I have friends, white friends, who be as drunk as they can be, flying down the highway and get pulled over. And the policeman says, are you drunk? Have you been drinking? And he goes, no, I'm okay. And the policeman says, okay, slow down. And I've lived that, and I've been around those people. I'm around people who we talk about the stories. And that's the thing about it, is they don't know any better.
I'm sorry.
I believe they don't know any better. And the other thing is, I do believe that Trump had a big, big part in causing that. You know, when you incite anger. If Martin Luther King incited anger with the Black community, it would have been a different story. That shit would have been happening too, but Martin Luther King knew better. But I don't think whoever is leading the, whatever you want to call those people, the people that believe that, whoever it is, I don't know if they're thinking correctly. You know, you can have your rights without having to kill for it. I mean, it's not really that bad. Somehow the lie has been believed by the guy who's not president anymore, and he's been doing that from the beginning. Back when Obama became president, he was priming people, putting that seed of doubt, and then my belief. And I am not gonna go to I ain't gonna die for this or say this is absolute truth. But when Trump went into the office with Putin and wouldn't let anybody in and wouldn't tell anybody what he's talking about, this is what I think happened. Trump asked him how he was able to remain in power for so long and still be in power. And I believe that Trump left and played that book. If you go,
really, that's a really good. I never thought of that.
If you go to Putin's book, he did exactly what Trump did, but Putin was liked by everyone. Trump wasn't, because Trump was an asshole. But Putin made fake news. He cut down the media to the point where now it's controlled by him. He did all those things that Trump, wanted to do. And but Trump is, as far as I'm concerned, he was too much full of himself to be that much of a genius. Even like Hitler, they all, what I found out is that all those horrible people that wreaked havoc all over the world were charismatic, and they won most of the people. Trump couldn't win but a little under half of America. Thank God. I have one more saying too. Yeah. I like to say this. I wish, and I don't know if I could be that persuasive or not, but I would like to get all the 1% that run and own everything, and I want to sit down and say, if you created an environment that made people happy, you would probably make more money.
They wouldn't buy it.
Yeah,
let go. They're holding on tight to the money.
They wouldn't let go of that. They don't want to change, fear. But fear. But the thing is, there's so much money in joy. There's so much money in it feeling good about yourself. There's so much. I mean, it can be done. It's a whole nother market, and it's funny that they can't capitalize on that instead of violence and killing and funding wars. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, if you can't change them, so let's see if they can direct their bullshit another way so they can still be the top 1% if that's what they want. But let us have make it so we're not so fucking miserable.
The problem is everybody wants to be king of the hill. It's like some rats in a bucket. Yeah. They see that. You think about one rat is going underwater, and everybody keeps climbing on top of the rat because they don't want to drown. It's literally
that's why it would never work, like you just said.
Yeah, because everybody is.
I agree with you.
And
well, I'm not going to throw that scenario up anymore. But you're right.
I'm sorry.
No.
But that's my thought.
Because people always go, "I wish I could win the lottery." I'm going, "Do you want to win the lottery? Really?
I don't.
Do you want to win $300 million so everybody that starts hitting you up for money? Everybody, all of a sudden, you become responsible for everything and everybody, and all of you got lawsuits. And I watched this movie on people who won the lottery, and people were murdered, and they got family members that don't talk to them, and some of my rock star friends who were not rock stars when I knew them, who became humongous, would tell me stories, just horror stories of family disputes over their money. Because for some reason, when you got a lot of money, people think that you can just give it to them. It's okay.
You owe them.
Not owe them. Yeah. I think that's what. How do you phrase that though?
If it was my family, it would be owe them. That's no changing.
No. You owe them because what you do is so easy that you don't have to work hard like I do. That's why you should give me your
But
money.
we're family,
That's
even though they don't care about it. We're
mm,
family. I hate that one.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. But
family
that's
is
how
more
I
than that.
feel, is they don't understand how hard we work for what we do. We work as hard as we do, just like they do
Mhm.
for what they do. And the other thing too is, sadly, in the Bible, blessed are the weak and blessed are the meek and blessed are the poor and all that stuff. So, because they're going to get so much good stuff. Well, I was reading in the Aramaic Bible, the Beatitudes, and it didn't say blessed are the meek, but they took the word meek and broke it down to what it really meant. And it meant those who are powerful. It broke the whole thing down. The Beatitude, basically, Jesus said, blessed are those who stand up. Blessed are those who fight. Blessed are those who are smart. Blessed are those who know how to rightfully divide the truth and do their thing. And he didn't say, blessed are those poor people that can't get their shit together. He left them behind. Even when he was walking around with the apostles and they said, why don't you heal all these people, Jesus? He said, these people will be with you till the end of the time. I got something else to do. And I started looking at that going, because I'm an empathetic person and I just want to save the world. And I had to come to the conclusion that this scenario, this is the only way I can look at it. A dog has 8 tits and she has 9 babies. One dies. That's life. Everybody's not going to get fed. Everybody's not going to get everything that somehow us humans think that we deserve. Some people are going to live a horrible, tragic, terrible life that's been going on since the beginning of humanity. Maybe more so, or maybe it's more now because there's more people. But the point is, we tout this humanity thing to a place where we forget reality. And that's why we can't come to agreement, like giving people stimulus checks. I want that money. We all need that money. It's going to run out and somebody's still going to starve. You can feed everybody today. You can't feed them tomorrow. Or you can feed everybody tomorrow, but you can't feed them today. But everybody's saying we can fix everything. And everybody's going, fix it for me, because we are sheep. We want them to fix it for us. Everybody can get up and do something positive to make the world better. Everybody. And people are so used to the government, to everybody else or whatever it is taking care of them, to the point where I see a generation of 20-somethings in that area who have no clue how to do anything. They don't know how to grow a plant. They don't know where flour comes from. I mean,
I do
it's
know.
like
My father.
and there are a few that do that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying all of them.
No.
And I
I'm
want
aware.
to make that disclaimer when I say something. I don't mean everybody. I live with it. He's 29 years old, and he like blows my mind about knowledge. But when I'm around the majority of the think tank, it's like, come on, people, get up. You got to put yourself out there to get anything. And if you're Black, you got to put yourself out there double. And if you're, whatever your handicap is, whether society puts it on you or it's physical, you still have to try to rise above it somehow. Yep. And keep trying. And if you do, people will grab you and pull you. That's the thing about people. Fighters, people are champion a fighter. And that's probably why Trump had such a hard time losing, but anyway.
Well, I think there's two thoughts on that.
You will straighten me out. Come on.
All right, ready? Here's my thought.
Yeah.
Well, in the getting ahead of things, there's kind of two schools of thought, I think. Mm-hmm. You got Trump and people that believe in themselves so much that they believe in themselves so much at the cost of anybody. Yeah. And usually that could be at the benefit, especially if somebody's in a physical fighter, because there's such a mental game. You're being hit. Yeah. I can't imagine that myself. I mean, I've enjoyed watching a good fight, especially, mixed martial arts, and I've taken the martial arts, but when I get in there to get hit, I don't like getting hit, man.
No, you touched me one time and I'm done.
I used to go to I used to fight with the black belts. So I'm like, well, let me get hit a few times, so then you're not afraid anymore. But what I'm saying is, then you get the other school thought, if somebody like you, and probably a lot of musicians, where, and a lot of people I talked on the show actually too. I think there's a trend of people I talk to. The goal is to talk to people you'd have a beer with in your backyard at a party. That's the kind of musicians I talk to.
This is a conversation we have. Yes.
And this is exactly what it is. That's what it's about. And make awareness of the artists, what they're doing right now, so that people would support you guys. Would be kindness. And use your creative and kindness. And when you're kind and you work with other people, everyone wants to work with you. Right. And you continue working. So there's that social level, or there's just the me value. Both of them get to the same place. One of them is uglier than the other, and one usually crashes further, especially if you're just all by yourself. You'll fall by yourself. You got to find balance. If you do it as a kindness, you're gonna have the branches on the tree around you. You're gonna have some support. You know what I mean? It's better. Those are the two. I mean, it's always in the middle, black and white.
Yeah, it's much. That's what I strive for too. The middle, and that's true. And because both sides could be detrimental to your health. If you're too nice, which that's kind of been who I've become in the past, and I've been used and taken advantage of severely.
Out,
but on the other side, if you go to the other way, it's like, the asshole. So yeah, you gotta find, because sometimes I want to be the asshole, and sometimes I go, and that's what I've learned. Sometimes you have the right to be in this situation.
And
only in this situation.
You think you're being
before you do that, think about it and then go.
There's a difference though. When somebody else is being it, what you think you're being, you just might be saying, I'm not doing that because you're protecting yourself, or you're closing in, because if you don't have nothing to offer people. But you saying that, no, you think that's you being that person, when it's not. You're probably just drawing a line and saying, you know what, it's not bad. Somebody else being that way is like just cutting you off or something.
Right.
I bet you don't do it like in a way that it's unnecessary. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I won't. I try not to. I try not to. Yeah.
It's good. I mean, you've got a good reputation. You work with a lot of people. That's why you're in so many different projects and bands, because you like to. It's not just because you like to work or because of whatever. It's who you are.
I can never say that I've not been loved. I am loved by a lot of people, and it really makes me happy, especially if I'm having bad days or I'm feeling down on myself. We're all musicians, and we all have that. We all have that borderline or severe self-hate, and when I think about the people that care about me and love me and forgive me for all the things that I think are flaws that they won't even notice, I have to just take a deep breath and go, stop beating yourself up, at least today.
I think it's an important message. I think people think that musicians and rock stars, and I hate the word rock star. And I also hate people that aren't musicians. I hate if you're not a musician and somebody calls you a rock star, you're not even a musician.
Thank you.
That's worse than hair bands. I think you insane.
I've gotten used to it in the last maybe 20 years of doing this, and I've been playing, rock music for 50 years almost, and or maybe a little longer. And I couldn't deal with rock star. You're a rock star. It's a bad word. And finally, somebody sat me down and said, "Doug, you make music, don't you?" "Yeah." "People know who you are." "Yeah." "You've played, you've done this." I go, "Yeah." And they said, "You're a rock star." And I go, and so
I think you're a musician, just for the record.
Well, no, let me finish though. So now when I'm doing an interview, someone other than you, and says, "You're a rock star," I'm going, "Well, yeah, that's what they say." And that's my answer.
It's fair.
For you, it's like, no, I don't consider myself a rock star. I'm just a musician who plays music. And luckily there's people that like me. But to me, a rock star is somebody that's completely full of himself and adorns himself and lives his whole life around this persona of this presentation to the world of, I am bigger and brighter than life. And I feel that is just the emperor with no clothes on. And one day some kid's gonna come along and go, "Mommy, why is he naked?" Yeah. and then the guy will figure it out. Oh man, everybody's been laughing at me, bro.
Or they won't. Or sadly, they won't. They're just gonna treat people poorly.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that word is just horrible, and I hate that people have the term. And that was actually one of the catalysts for the show.
That's been used as an insult to me by two people in my life that I thought were my friends, and they crossed that line, would say that to me. And I thought, you're not my friend, because it showed me that they were jealous of me. And when I look back at our relationship, I realized there it is. I look back at everything that they were doing, and I'm going, wow.
How could somebody that knows you, like as an outsider, I mean, we're just talking tonight, like we're just hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
And I can have an idea of the personality you are, and like musically, I'm not saying
Mm-hmm.
I know who you are as human, but you're pretty much out there, and in your career, in the trajectory of the ups and downs you've had, like one of the, like King X is just ridiculously talented. I mean, and it's a part of your sound. It really is. I mean, it's just
Thanks.
And at the same time, it's like a lot of unfortunate bands I work with aren't huge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you gotta, I mean, the albums, the fact that work comes out, it's gonna stay there. It's like, gonna be at the forever. It's like 24/7 Spyz.
Yeah.
Same thing. What the hell? Really? I was like, Faith No More made it. Where's Scatterbrain?
Yeah.
We're 24/7 Spyz.
Yeah.
Where's
Exactly.
King's X? I mean, like, but I was my thought. But anybody who knows work ethic you put in as a musician through those years, and the fact you're doing a solo and then you're doing this and you're doing that. You're not a rock star. You told me earlier you're at UPS or you're at FedEx. I mean, you're with the mall.
Work.
That's what people do. That's what humans do. And also, if you're a hairdresser, somebody calls you a rock star, you're not, because no one calls a rock person a musician. You're a hairdresser.
Yeah.
We gotta get a new name for other people.
Yeah.
Good job, attaboy. There you go. But I do want to say, creatively, and I haven't ever heard a lot. Your album covers, some of the King's X. Let's talk about a few of them. They're so good. I don't ever think like who came up with. I mean, actually, I pull up a couple.
Name a cover now.
All right, I'm gonna start with you first. I'm gonna tell you one of my favorite is Ear Candy, and I know that's not always everybody's favorite album. I actually like the album a lot too.
Thanks.
But
the reason we have that cover, that was my idea on this one. I remember we were talking about covers, and I said, I love R. Crumb and I love Haight Ashbury and those really cool Mr. Natural post psychedelic.
Yeah, I know you're talking about, yeah.
And so someone at Atlantic suggested, well, we can get a hold of the guys that did those posters, and I go, have them make us a poster. I mean, album cover. And so they just sent them our name, and they made the cover and sent it to us, and we all went, wow! It looked just like an old Haight Ashbury cover. And
did you have the concept for that though?
Huh? Yes. Well, it was my idea, but I had no concept. We just told them we want a cover, and they just took our logo and made it up themselves.
That's fantastic. I mean, obviously, some of them you have pictures of the band. Those are nice pictures.
Yeah, on the back, I remember we did a photo session, and next door to where we rehearsed at in Houston was this place that they had a couch and a porch, and it was all this graffiti all over it. And I think it was somebody's home, but or apartment or something. But a bunch of kind of hippie kind of people live there. That's in the area. That's where it was downtown. And we were walking down looking for pictures, places to take pictures. And I said, hey man, let's take a picture up here on their porch. And so we knocked on the door and said, hey man, can we take a picture of our album cover? I said, yeah, just as long as we get to see the picture. And so we did. And that's what that was. That was like around the corner from where we rehearsed. We would walk down that street to this little restaurant called the Last Concert Cafe. They had concerts there at night, but during the day it was a Mexican restaurant, but you had to knock on the door because the door was always locked. It was always full of people, but when you walked up to the door, you knocked and somebody came and opened it. You could be sitting at a table and the door knocks and you just get up and open it. But there's the tradition in there. It's Texas.
That is really crazy.
Texas has some cool stuff.
That is crazy. All right, how about like your last album? How about Orge Tones? How about that one? Where it looks very Celtic, sort of in a way. Without I hate labeling where you say it.
What is that? I think we used the. What does that album look like?
It's green, got the brown circle sort of in the middle, and King's X in the middle of it. Got like almost like a sun type of like stars shooting out from the side of it.
Yeah.
It's different than what you normally have, because it's more just like, yeah.
I remember I wanted to call the record Orge Tones.
Ogre, yeah.
But I don't remember I don't remember the cover and who did the cover at all. Wow. But I remember we were writing songs or doing songs, and we didn't have names for certain songs. And we called everything Ogre this, Ogre that. That was just a running name of every track that we did. And when and Orge Tones sounded so cool. And I kept saying, we need to name the record Orge Tones. And I got my wish.
That is
but the
great.
cover, I don't remember.
That's all right. You're allowed that.
If I saw it, but
Yeah.
but for me to try to pull it up on it's too much trouble.
It's all right. It's all right. How about Tapehead?
Tapehead. Well, Ty had an idea that he said, when I remember when we were talking about album cover, he says, Doug, I got this idea. He said, let me use your face. And he said, let me take a whole bunch of tape and tape it all the way around your face. And then take a picture of it in my front porch in that little indentation. So, and he says, and I'll do something to it to make it look freaky. And I go, okay. So he wrapped my face with tape and took the picture, and it's called Tapehead.
That's really great. I think it's I think some of the fun parts, some of the album covers you guys have, I also well, Please Come Home, Mr. Bulbous.
Please Come Home. That's Ty too. Ty had the idea. He said, he kept mentioning this. He says, dude, we should name the album Please Come Home, Mr. Bulbous. He says, I know it sounds stupid. I don't know what it means, but I like it. And me and Jerry both just loved it. And we says, what are we going to do for a cover? And he says, I'll come up with something. And that's what Ty said. And he did. He came up with that picture with the guy with the bulb on his head. And he said that he had this idea with a guy with a bulb head, Mr. Bulbous. And we thought that was just ridiculously stupid. So we said, let's go for it. Because one thing that King's X will always do, if we think something is really goofy and stupid, we'll do it. Not something that's stupid in a way that's gonna make us look like idiots, but something that's just so ridiculously odd that borderline stupid, where we laugh and laugh.
Yeah, I mean, I like them. I think that it's one of the fun parts about, especially in a day and age where albums and album covers. I mean, I know these are also CDs.
Now,
one of my things, I love that. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Manic Moonlight was the worst cover we've ever made. I think I want to venture to say all three of us would agree. That's just a horrible cover. Just horrid. I can't find anything.
Well, where'd it come from?
Cover. Ty made it up, and Ty doesn't like it either. He told us one day, and I remember him telling us, "Oh, good." And but the thing was, when he came up with it, we said, "Sure." It made sense to us. The thing about making that record was that we were in a position where we thought that nobody cared about King's X, and basically our career is over, and we were barely making enough money to pay bills, and we had this last record deal with Metal Blade Records, and we knew we had to make a record, and we had no real inspiration. We were just beat, but we knew we had to make a record. So we went in and just kind of threw a record together as best we could and put as much heart into it as we could with this defeated attitude. And there were some good songs on that record. Don't get me wrong. I thought that we laughed. I mean, I look at that record and go, man, the way we felt about everything in our lives, I'm surprised we got this out of it. Like Believe. Yeah, was like, I'm going that. I love that song. And I thought, where did that come from? Because we sure didn't believe in ourselves. And or like Skeptical Winds, that went on for 5 minutes. And I said, maybe we should turn it into verse, chorus, and end it. And Ty goes, just let it go. And I go, well, what do you think people will think? You go, well, maybe they'll just dance to it. And we'll go, all right, let's just let it keep going. And it's some people's favorite song, So the thing about us is everything we do is thought out. Whether we took time with it or not, we put care into it or didn't, it was still done deliberately. And as a result of it, it's art. Does that make sense?
It is. And it almost sounds like in that album, you were actually letting yourself out of what you felt like you had to do was acceptable. and songwriting. You're like, you know what? Got nothing to lose here. Let's just
Right.
do this. Let's
Nothing
just do
to
it.
lose.
You know, either for fun or for art reason or for whatever the reason is. Let's just do it. Which, looking back, probably you know what, creatively it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
You know, even your what you call your worst album is probably better than a lot of people's best albums. So I mean, your album is strong.
Go ahead. Sorry. I'm listening. I keep cutting it on you. Sorry about that. But I remember making Mr. Bulbous, and I forgot what the train of thought was because I cut you off, and I was thinking about how I did that. Sorry, I forgot.
Are you talking about it looks like there's a baby coming off underneath behind a tree in that album cover, lighting a candle? Is that what it is? What's going on there? Can you tell me? This is the time to tell me.
Mr. Bulbous?
No. The Manic Moonlight. We kind of skipped that. It looks like there's a baby coming up from behind with a candle.
Honest to God, you'd have to ask Ty about that because he literally made that cover up, and he showed us 3 covers, and that was the least. That was the best of the 3.
I've never looked that close to it. So you just said that. I just pulled it up down here on my tablet and just opened it up. I'm like, it looks like a little person with a candle. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird, but we didn't know. I don't know. Like I said, we were really at a place where we were completely fatigued, spiritually, mentally, physically, and monetarily, and so we were just crawling, trying to create something that was at least something that people wouldn't just turn their backs on us forever for, you know. And people even to this day say that's their least favorite record. And even though other people defend us, I have to be honest and say I understand why. You know, I've always been honest with.
You can't have 100% every good album because there's no such thing.
You can't. Well, most of my favorite bands put one record out. That's the greatest thing in the world, and the rest of them are okay. I think we were lucky. We got Gretchen and Dogman. So I go, whoa, you know, and that's why I've always looked at it. I hope our new record.
I would throw Ear Candy in there also. Like if you're talking your top ones, I'd say Ear Candy and actually. I also have a soft spot for Tapehead myself. That's why I brought it up. I do.
Well, I love Tapehead and Ear Candy in a way of those were records that really were really us.
You feel off the beaten path a little bit for you.
Yeah, Tapehead, we wrote almost all those songs together. And I remember that Ty and Jerry, after we got done with all the music, they left the studio and said, okay, make up some lyrics. They said, send us what you got when you're done. And they went home, and I stayed in my studio for a month and made up lyrics and melodies and harmonies. So I worked really hard at that. But the songs were just fun. You know, and the one before that, Tapehead, what happened with Tapehead was I don't know if Ty feels that way, but I think he did. But that was our last attempt at writing hit songs to get a good song on the radio, because that song was full of hit songs. Sometimes in Mississippi Moon, Run. I mean, every song was tailor-made to be played on the radio as far as our attitude was. And it was just overlooked. And so we went, well, fuck that. Let's go home and do Tapehead and just write everything together and see what we got here. You know, because at that point everybody was bringing in these done tunes, a box, you know, all those songs. I remember Train and just things that we all brought in where I'm going, these can be played on the radio. I think even 67 stations, I saw a video in my head, you know. But you know, that record was completely overlooked. So yeah, we moved on.
It was interesting. So you guys wrote and then together, and now you said this last album you guys all wrote separately again.
Yeah,
you guys sort of started separately. If I'm correct, right? You guys started separately, writing your songs together. And
no, the beginning of the band for the first few years, I wrote everything. I just, you know, King's X was kind of my idea, and I had a bunch of songs already written, and when we started, they were just doing my songs. We were doing what we do, and then later on, early in our career, Ty started writing songs, and Jerry didn't start really contributing until way later. He just felt like we didn't want to hear the songs, and we did, but we probably had we were young. Maybe we didn't. I don't know. But so, and it's I've always been the guy that's wrote. I've been writing even, I was 30 years old when King's X started, and since I was 18, I've been writing songs and doing it in bands that I was in. So that's just something I always did: play guitar, keyboards, whatever it was. I made everything up. And I was around people that seemed to just let me do it, and they just did what I wanted to do. I controlled everything, didn't realize that, but I was just so full of music that you just had to come along with me. If you didn't want to do it, then you'd fade away and I'd find somebody else. I was a pretty dominant person. And in King's X, Ty, Ty kind of stepped up to the plate instead of, saying, hey man, hey, you ain't got it all. And so we started to balance things out as brothers, and the rivalry, and we pushed each other and things like that. And so by the time we got to the first King's X record, me and Ty were running neck and neck and writing songs together. I mean, apart from each other. And for the first probably 4, maybe 5 records, we wrote probably the same amount of songs on every record. I think Sam did that on purpose too. He wanted to make sure nobody got any more than the other. He had this ZZ Top mentality that no one got more credit, no one got to be the rock star of the band, nobody got anything. You had to be like ZZ Top. Everybody does it together, nobody separate.
Might be why you have 15 albums now, though.
yeah. And for us, everybody, it was weird because, I find out later a lot of people wanted to talk to Dug, and Ty and Jerry would say, go talk to Dug. That's who you want to talk to. But in our camp, that was shunned by management, especially, and so we just kind of evened things out. There were so many things that King's X did that maybe hindered our fame because of our manager Sam at the time, who thought that he had the next Beatles or U2 and thought he could control everything from the beginning. I mean, I remember when we were asked to do David Letterman on Faith of Love album. I think it was Faith of Love album. And Paul Schaefer's band always played along with the band. You didn't hear it, but
Van Halen. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Van Halen did it. Yes. Sam turned him down and told us that he said within a year they'll be doing what we want him to do. That he really thought, and I found later, through the grapevine and through the industry people that had to deal with him. Yeah, he was one of those guys that really played us, and he played the cards, and they didn't. What happened was people didn't buy us. People didn't buy our music. That was the bottom line. Those who loved us, love us. There's hardly any haters, and that's the kiss of death. Even the record company would tell us, either they love you or they hate you, but complacency is the kiss of death. And with King's X is the handful of people love us. When you go see us, every time we play, just about with anybody but, AC/DC and Scorpions or something, but just about everybody we play with live, we would pound the crowd's brains out. We would sometimes, I would say, steal the show. People would freak out that nobody bought the records. And that's the way it was. So it's like, wow, standing ovation in Paris with AC/DC. And then we walk away and we don't play in Paris for 25 years because we can't get a gig.
It's crazy. Even crazier is, and obviously you've lived it, to see so they're rocking out to these same songs that are on the album. I've seen you guys many times live. You guys sound as you pull off the entire album, so it's not like if you sound different. Like it's, oh my god, it's a different sound. They sound the timing's different, the rhythm's different. It sounds so close, but live. So there's not like the albums are anything different. You're just taking home an extra part of it. There's no difference.
Right.
That's why it's even crazier. Like they love the songs, so they love the shows.
Yeah, I never understood. But the thing is, I don't like the records either. I put them on and I just think they're ugh. And so the early records, and maybe it's because of how the controlling of our manager and all the pressure we were under, but those first 4 records, it's hard for me to listen to them. And if someone doesn't like them, I can agree with them. I can embrace them. I go, I get it. I don't like them either, you know.
Oh.
And
Doug,
it's
give yourself a
sad
hug.
because,
Give yourself a hug
well,
for those albums, Doug.
well, I wish I could, I wish I could like them. But here's the thing: I've dealt with that. That's the good. The good thing is, I know those records, those songs are some good songs and touched a lot of people. You know why? It's because I write lyrics out, handwrite lyrics to that songs that I've written, and I'll never get tired of you. A box, believe, over my head, world around me.
Mhm.
I think those are the 5 songs that I write the lyrics of the most. But what gets me is when they ask me to write lyrics out, then I'm writing lyrics out, reading what I wrote, which is 30 years ago, maybe 40 years ago. And I'm going, oh my God. It's like, who were you then? What you were thinking, what you were feeling. And it's just like, it helps me appreciate what I was writing at the same time, than not to hate it, but to go, this is some of this stuff is good poetry. You know, some of this stuff is some clever things. You doing it. I mean, when I write something, I try to write. I mean, there's nothing new you can say, just a new way to say it.
Well, the
Sometimes the new
Beatles did
way
it
to
already for us.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. So sometimes a new way to say it isn't good, and then sometimes a new way to say it is like makes you smile and go, yeah, I never thought about it that way. That's
Well,
how I write songs. I want people to go, oh, I never thought about it that way. That's the only thing I can go on because there's nothing new. There's nothing else you can say, and I don't want to be pretentious and think I got something to say. I just want to be artistic about it, and that's what I love. So when I read some of those lyrics, I go, "Oh, well, you were doing some of that stuff back then. So quit beating yourself up." That's why I say that. I'm learning. I'm learning some of the things in the past. How that wasn't as bad as you thought it was. That was why it wasn't. It was that.
it's a
In fact, that
timestamp.
was yeah. I
It's
mean, but
70-year-old
here's it.
Doug looking back at you're looking at your adult brain now, who you
Yeah.
are. That
Hmm.
lyrics back then. That's not who you were back
Hmm.
then.
Right.
Could you judge that? It's two different things.
I did. Now I look back and go, wow, I'm accepting it, and it's fun almost in a way to just smile and go, what was the big deal? Why were you had such a problem? And I laugh about it, and that's all you can do now, is laugh and enjoy it, because for my whole life I've never enjoyed what I do. I do it because I'm driven. And the reason why I haven't enjoyed it is because growing up in the evangelical world, the severity of what I was taught was that you're nothing, you're nobody, don't think you're anything, don't take a compliment, don't ever think that you did something great. Pride cometh before a fall. Keep your mouth shut. And the last thing was, if you think you're somebody and you walk into a room where there's a whole bunch of people that are somebody and they're all sitting at a table and there's an empty chair and you go sit in it because you think you're somebody, you should wait until they ask, you are somebody, why didn't you sit in that chair? Because somebody who might come in who is somebody and they say, you should get up, you're not somebody. And so what I do is I stay in the back. And if somebody goes, that's Doug Pinnick, get up here, I will go. But I will not march up and go, hey, I'm here, everybody, because that's what I was taught. As much as I'd like to go up and go, hey, you don't do that. And but that's what I was taught all my life. So that's my approach. And people go, you're humble. And I go, no, I was beat down and told that if you act anything other than that, they're going to make fun of you and they're going to not like you and they're going to disrespect you and blah, blah, blah. And so it became a part of my personality. And, I mean, it's who I am. And I've been learning lately to stand up for who I am, to stand up when someone is being shitty to me, and to stand up and say, yeah, I'm a badass fucking bass player and a badass
You
fucking
are.
singer. I'm 70 fucking years old and I've been doing this for a long time and I am good. When you get to my age, I don't care who you are. If you've been doing what you've been doing, all your life, you're good. Whether somebody likes you or not. I mean, go see AC/DC. Oh my God. It's like same song, same notes, 50 years or more. I don't know
Yeah.
how long they've been together.
And
But
it feels
when
so
you
good.
see,
It feels so good,
but
huh?
it feels so good. And you know, the
Yep.
cool thing is too, is, you know, back in the 90s when we were really out there doing stuff, I got to see everybody play. We were playing with people or at the Buzz Fest or rock concerts or whatever. So I was always out listening to music. And then all of a sudden, we got what, 30 years later, these bands come out like Garbage and go down the list of all those bands. And I go see them now. They're all in their 40s and 50s. Even the bands that I don't like, and I stand and watch them and I go, this is a good band. It's like, yeah, that song on the radio, we all laughed and said that was crap. But right now, they've been playing that song for 30 years and they ruled right now, you know, and I go, that's the way it is with music. Is a lot of young people think that it's over by the time they get 25 or 30 and they haven't made it. You ain't no good. You know, you got to keep going. I mean, just think. As an older person at 70 years old, I look back at Jimi Hendrix, and I look back at Led Zeppelin, and I look back at all those bands and listen to them and go, when I was that age in the 60s, same age as Eric Clapton and all those folks, I went, oh my God, those guys are unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now I look back and listen to them going, ooh, they weren't really that good, but they wrote some great songs and they had a lot of energy and attitude. And as they got older, they got better and better. I mean, I watched Santana doing, Carlos Santana doing Soul Sacrifice at Woodstock. Oh my God. It was, people are going, oh my God, oh my God. I'm going, that is so primitive. It's like he barely could get through it. Now you watch him play. Same notes, same execution. You get goosebumps. And I remember seeing, who was it? Nancy Wilson, the black jazz singer. She was like 80 years old when I saw her sing one time on TV. She sang one song. She had this husky, deep voice. And every note she hit, every phrase she sang, I got goosebumps. And I went, that's a woman who's been singing a long time. I remember seeing Aerosmith too. And when they went living on that edge, and they hit that edge and hit that note together, me and my friend was standing on the side of the stage and we looked at each other and said, you can tell that band's been together for a long time. The tightness was like, you know, so anyway, I'm babbling. You're going to
No, and
sleep on
actually,
me?
no, actually, I was
see you
actually
now.
my thought was this: is as a horrible musician myself, one of the things I've learned, and this is leads into your Jimi Hendrix thing, just myself, it's a appreciation of a song that you may have heard a million times on the radio. Like, again, I've heard it, Life in the Fast Lane, but whatever. I'm just thinking a song you've heard a lot on the radio, not disparaging
I
anybody.
think Life in the Fast Lane is an amazing
No, my point is,
song.
and actually trying to play a guitar is get a new love for it. My point is something you've heard a million times on the radio, classic rock radio, growing up. Then you sit down, you're like, oh, that riff's in front of me. I'll just try it because I'm just noodling around. And you start seeing how the songs put together, and you're like, damn, these guys are brilliant. This is so simple. It's brilliant. I'm saying you get an appreciation on a different level of a songwriting. Yeah. That was a long journey we're taking. That point of mine.
Oh, I agree.
And this leads to your Jiffy thing.
Oh, go ahead,
how about that? No, so that's what I'm saying. Your covers are so fantastic. You've done so.
Thanks. Watching you two do this one song, one of their biggest hits, which I hated. I loved U2 for the first 4 records, and after that, they learned how to write pop songs, and I didn't care anymore. And they were writing this one pop song that was huge and everybody loved. And I remember I was watching the documentary of them, and Edge was on the piano, and he played that simple chord progression. He inverted it 12 different times till he found the right. It was a da 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 or da 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 da. I mean, he mathematically kept going until he found the right one. And when I listened to it, I'm going, anybody can come up with that, but that's not what he did. And that's something I don't understand. I want to, and I would venture to say that that could be one of the reasons why we never had a hit. Because when I write a song, I think Ty's the same way. We don't want to do the thing that everybody else does. We want to fuck it up somehow. And to a point where sometimes, well, most of the time, the average person won't listen to it. When I went to my first music theory class in college, I didn't last in college very long, but I had a music theory class. It took one semester of 101 music theory. The first thing the teacher said was, if you don't learn anything else, know this: all music is made, what is it? All rules in music are made to be broken. And from that point on, that's probably has been what I try to do. Is anything I come up with, I try to see if I can put something odd there, or take it somewhere where you wouldn't want to. You wouldn't go.
Ashamed of a pop song, of a good pop song. You're like, oh, it sounds too commercial.
I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed of it. I want to write the greatest pop song ever, but I want to do it in a way that I know what I'm doing. Because I can write a pop song from what I think is a pop song, then throw it out there and hope it's a pop song. But I want to write a song and be able to say, like what Chris Cornell said to me when I said, man, Black Hole Sun, you wrote a fucking great song. He goes, yeah, I knew it. I knew it was going to be a hit song. And I thought to myself, how do you know that it's going to be a big hit? He didn't say I hoped. He knew it. And there's other people. I mean, I know, Mick Mars, I talked to him and he knew. And a lot of my friends who have huge hits, they would say that to me. And I used to wonder, how do you know that? I don't know how to know that, because if I said this is going to be a hit, I would immediately beat myself up and go, oh no, pride comes before a fall. So I would never even be able to deal with it.
Yeah. A couple of things. I mean, not the hits that come out of nowhere. You're like, whoa, I didn't expect that one coming. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, all right. So the last few things I want to talk about is something you got a lot of side projects. And I know, was it before you did your solo album?
Shall I name them all?
No, there's enough time in a day for it. I will say, I do want to touch on something, because you didn't originally do solo albums, because your first couple albums were at a different name.
Poundhound. The reason I did that was because when Foo Fighters came out, it was all Dave Grohl. And I thought that was so cool to be able to put a name on it instead of saying Dave Grohl, And so I thought, I'm not going to put out Doug Pinnick solo. I thought, I'm going to call it Poundhound, And I got Shannon Larkin and Jerry Gaskell and Chad, friend of mine. What's Chad's last name? I forgot now. Play drums on it. Shannon Larkin plays with Godsmack now.
Godsmack and
Ugly
Kid Joe, right?
Yep, Ugly Kid Joe and Wrathchild. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so So that first record, and the second record, I think Jerry played drums on it, and that was it. And then I put out Emotional Animal, which was Doug Pinnick, and Jerry's son played drums on that one for me. And then Emotional Animal, yeah. And then Strum Some Up, I wanted to put a band together. I didn't want to play bass on it. I wanted to play guitar on it, actually, just so I got my buddy Wally Farkas to be the other guitar player, which is way better than me. I knew he would hold it up. And I got Dave Hennings from Big Wreck to play bass. And he said, shall I use my fingers in 12 string? I go, no. He said, play that old P bass and play it like you're Willie Weeks, And so he picked that bass up with dead strings and picked up his fingers and plugged into an SVT. And that's why the bass sounds like it is. It's not me at all. And I didn't want me. And I just played rhythm guitar on it and sang. And I had a lot of people come in to do leads and background harmonies, from Hal Sparks to Al, God, what's Al? No, it's well. Anyway, I got a bunch of people came in. Kelly Scott from Failure played drums on it, and Ray Luzier played on a couple songs too. I forgot.
Well, there you go. That was a way in, huh?
Yeah, and then after that, what was it? There was PGP with Eric Gills and Thomas Pridgeon. We did 2 records.
That is one of your few albums that sounds less like you. I mean, it sounds like you, but it has the less, because when you write a lot, King's X sounds like you. Your solo stuff sounds like you. That one has more of a mixture, though.
Yep, that's because you have three domineering people who
right.
who are not going to do well. Bottom line is, well, the songs that I brought in there, they went a certain way, and as soon as I played the song to Eric, he did it his own way. There was you just do what you do. They put their own flavor to everything that I wrote.
I would
that I came in
say
there.
that they had their own sounds and
Yeah, they had their
separate
own
sounds
sounds.
and they work together. But whereas all you guys at King's X, all your sounds that you guys have, the three of you, they kind of blend together. They kind of are kind of the
Right.
sound.
This band didn't.
Those guys all have their own sounds.
Yep. And I it was what it was. I wish we did both of those records in 15 days consecutively. I guess that's the word for it. And how do you write 15 songs and mix it, write, record, and mix in 15 days a record?
I would say a Scarface pile of cocaine. I don't know. I don't know.
Poor Eric. Well. Actually, for Eric, it was. No, he's clean.
Oh, I was just joking.
No.
God.
He's fine now. But I won't even go into the amount.
Oh, I'm glad he is.
Oh, I mean, the first day he was on the floor, he couldn't get up because he was up all night doing cocaine. That was the first day, and he just said, "Y'all just put the rhythm tracks down. I'll get it." And finally, around 7 o'clock, he finally could sit up, and because he had been doing cocaine all night. And I remember I'd wake up in the middle of the night hearing this one riff, and for hours and hours, I'd go back to sleep because we stayed in the same house. But he was always like that back in the day. But now he's fine. That doesn't happen anymore. But even the songs on those records about I've been up all night, can't see, those are true. What happened was Mike Varney wrote those songs and wrote those lyrics while we're making those records. And I remember one time Eric went in there to sing, and he goes, "Oh man, these lyrics are a bit personal." And Mike Brown, he says, "Well, it's the truth." And he goes, "Well, all right, I'll sing it." And he would sing it. And bless his heart, I love that guy. I love him. I've known Eric since he was 16. His band opened for us when he was. His band opened for us. Went on tour a couple of times when he was 16. He had to leave the club after he walked off stage to stay on the bus. We go way back.
So talented, yeah. Man.
But then KXM came along. And Grinder Blues. My blues band is called Grinder Blues. We are like ZZ Top in drop B, basically. An early ZZ Top, not She Got Legs.
Yeah, I know
Trace Ombre. And then there's Trace Mountain with Jeff Ament from Pearl Jam and Richard Stuver. But KXM, we've got 3 records out. I can't remember now, but we're getting ready to work on a new one. Ray sent me some drum tracks, and George is sending me ideas, and we're all just talking.
How did you end up with George? Because I mean, the album, like, that's another thing. No, the sound of that album is really interesting because George sounds a little bit different for his playing too.
Yes.
Not the ordinary George, because usually
George will even tell you that. I was talking to George a couple of days ago about this too, and he's a different kind of guitar player. When we first started this band, I made a suggestion and said, in this band, since all 3 of us really have been doing this for a long time, and I think we know what we're doing, let's not tell anybody what to do or write anybody's part or even suggest anything. I said, let's just write together and trust each other. And that's what would happen. It was like Ray would sit down and he'd be testing his drums, and he's doing this drum beat thing, a pattern. And I go, "Dude, play that again. Play it a couple times." And all of a sudden I find my bass line in there. And then we just stop and go, "George, check this out. What can you do with this?" And George would go, "Huh?" And he just go, and he look at us like, "Huh?" And we go, "That's it." And he'd go, "Well, how about this instead?" We go, "No, do the first thing you came up with. That is cool." And he goes, "I don't remember what I did." Chris stops and goes, he goes, "I remember what it was, George." And he comes in and shows him, because Chris and George work together. Chris is the engineer, and he watches everything that George does and remembers everything he does. And he goes, "It was like that." He records it too. And then we're sitting there, and all of a sudden we got a part, and we'll play it 4 or 5 times and lock it in and record it. And that's pretty much the way, you know, George would be sitting there. I'd walk in the room one day and George is playing this 12 string and he's playing this riff that was voice noises in the sky, that one. And he was playing the riff and I'm going, ooh, you got the 12 string out. Let me grab my 12 string bass. And I pull my grab and I said, what are you playing there? And he started playing it. And so I started finding what I need to do. And then Ray comes in and all of a sudden he just sits down. And what I love about Ray is Ray doesn't sit down and try to figure out what he wants to do. He sits down. If I come up with a riff, he'll go, oh, I got it. Boom, and it's there. It's like, when we go back and kind of change this, or maybe should I do the tom here instead? What he does is like, oh my God. Yeah, Thomas.
He seems like he's a very chill guy, very much like the Iceman, kind of like in
nothing but fun.
Part. Yeah.
Nothing but fun. And him and George, they rib each other so much. I mean, because when we text each other, we have a three-way all the time, and we're always talking. And like Ray will text us and say, hey George, how's lunch, Mom? And George go, oh, we're getting ready to work on our new record. But what's his name? I forgot his singer's name. He said, but he's not speaking to me, and all of a sudden we go and we start laughing, and it's like, that's our life. Or he'll text us about Korn or something. I'll be in town doing a video with Korn. I got a day off. Think we can set up and do a video? Go, okay. And it's like, Scatterbrain, he got there at 6 o'clock in the morning for this before the sun came up, set his drums up with his tech and did his shoot before I even got there. And I got there late and he had to leave at 1 to go to Bakersfield to do a video or to work on an album or do a video. I can't remember what it was with Korn. That guy, I don't know where he gets his energy. I don't have
love of music. That is the love of music. That has got nothing
else
to do with
anything else. He says if he's not doing anything in 10 minutes, he's losing his mind. He's ready to. So anyway, we're getting ready to work on a new record, and that's fantastic. That's
one of your projects you got to keep going because that is a good.
Cool, thanks.
I love to hear you guys together. I mean, it's fantastic.
Thanks. I hope we can play live sometime. I really do want to do that.
That would be great.
But then there's King's X. Oh man, our new record. I brought 17 songs in, and Ty and Jerry brought a slew of songs in too. And no, I brought 25 songs in. We got 17 songs out of the whole record. We're not going to put them all on the record, but we had a lot to choose from now. And Michael Parnan, who produced it and engineered it, he's mixing it right now. It's going to take a good while because of the pandemic. And the uncertainty of touring and all that stuff. Because this, who knows, at our age, this could be our last record and we want to do it right. We don't want to just put it out there in the middle of a pandemic and hope somebody buys it. But we want to put it out, go on tour, do videos. I mean, do it like we're supposed to do it, So we're telling the fans, our fans, that just kind of be patient with us because we really, really are hoping that this is as good as Dogman and Gretchen. It's what everybody wants, But it's not rehash of it. In fact, this record doesn't sound like either one. But I think that we worked really, really hard on this record like we haven't since the early days, around Gretchen and Dogman. There's just, I can tell it in the songs how we're all singing and everybody's contributing to it. They're not just doing my songs and I'm not just doing Ty songs. We're really putting ourselves into it. Yeah. And I had some pretty crazy songs, time change wise, because I've been listening to a lot of Meshuggah and shit like that. And it's not King's X, but that flavor comes in and you imagine if John Bonham played with Meshuggah. That's kind of.
You have a tone. Your bass, your 12-string bass. You have a certain rig. Certain rig you use on everything. You play it down notes. It's your voice, harmonies. You.
All that stuff, but then Ty and Jerry's singing a lot too, and like I tell people, it's like from Penny Lane to the heaviest Meshuggah. It's like. It's a blend of something in between there, and one song to another almost sounds different to the point where we're mixing them almost to the point where they're an individual piece in themselves, like Pink Floyd used to do. We got violins and other
Good.
things in it. You know, I've got some keyboards and all kinds of things to enhance things, piano, nothing overboard, but just like Hendrix did and people like that, the things coming in and out that gives it that longevity, I would say, you know, things that you hear that, oh, wow, that's cool, that little thing over there. So we will really spend a lot of time with it. So it's taken Michael a long time to mix it because he's got a lot of tracks.
Hopefully
And
the
the
summer
other,
or the fall, but things will be better by then.
yeah. And so my solo record and Ty's solo record hopefully will be out, and then you know, in this, what is it? This is winter, spring. Hopefully we can get ours out by spring, because Ty and I both have done solo records, and you know, we're not like King's X. We don't have to take a long time. King's X is a perfectionist, and the magic that King's X creates, it, you know, it takes time, and we don't want to waste that. But our solo records, we both got our solo records done, and I love Ty's record. I can't wait till he puts it out, and mine will be out, you know, whatever that period is, 90 days or 3 months or whatever. I forgot how long it is, but I'll let you know.
Yeah, please let me know. What is the small D in a capital U? Is that just because it was cool?
I'm an artist. I come from a long line of artists. We draw, and my mom draws, and she wrote poetry, and my dad draws, and he sang, and his whole family did, and his sister was perfect pitch and played the piano when she was 3. So I've got all this art in me, and I like to write. My mother can write like a calligrapher. It's just scary. I have a great handwriting, but it's sporadic, and it's like real fancy, but you can't really read it. My mom used to say, I can't read your writing, but hers is like was like a Hallmark card. But anyway, it runs in the family. I used to draw pictures, draw cartoons. And all of a sudden the art of drawing is gone. We got computers, nobody cares. Nobody, I mean, kids don't even write with cursive anymore. It just blows my mind. People can't even write, can't even read it. And so I'm looking at my name, and I'm typing out dUg, and I thought, artistically, how can I make this look expressive? Because I have to express myself in everything I do. I've got to put that little thing there. And I went little d, big U, small g, and I typed it up there, and I thought, that looks cool. And I just said, what the fuck? And I started doing it with no other reason of, I just did it because I thought it was cool. And after a while, it just started to stick. And now it's in the encyclopedia. I mean, in the, you know, in the on the internet, dUg, and I never changed it. It's not legal.
It's a brand, though. You know that, though. You should probably cover it. It's a brand. That's what, like, subconsciously. It's, I mean, you create it part aside. You look at that, it's like Coke, not like, you know what I'm saying, but like you read that, it's become something totally different. That's why I asked you, because it feels like you stumbled across something that was like, you know, a brilliant little.
I agree. And looking back at that, that's exactly what I did. I didn't really realize I was doing it, because that's the thing about my whole career is I think I've done a lot of things that by the textbook, but I didn't realize I was doing it. I was just driven, and it was just a logical thing to do. You know, and that to me was like, oh, this looks cool. I didn't think, oh, that's a marketing technique. But now I look back at and what you're saying, I'm going, oh yeah, that's exactly why I did it.
It's like a Mad Men thing, you know?
Yeah, because put that on a t-shirt. Whoa, cool. You know, that was all in my head, but meticulously, I don't think a lot about what I'm doing. And that's been a good and bad thing in my life. And I've been trying to think more about what I do when I do it, because I've gotten myself a lot of trouble with not thinking also, you know.
Not bad. My motto's always been, you think, you stink. So I don't know. I've always stuck with this.
Yeah, that's true.
So the last 2 things I want to talk about, and do it real brief, is you played with 2 other bands that I love. You first, well, Live in Color, and you actually stood in. How awesome is this? I wish is there any tapes out there of the show? I'd love to see it. You sang with them while Corey did something else. And the fact you have a friendship where bands can kind of do that, that is also is so great. Exciting. I love when an artist does something totally different. It can be sloppy and messy and brilliant and different and exciting.
Yeah, they play. It's weird. They play to themselves while King's X only listens to each other, and the drastic difference was amazing to me. Not in a good or bad way. It was just something I had to get used to. those guys, they never looked at each other. There was no communication on stage, but they nailed everything. And with King's X is everything is feeling. I mean, if Ty glitches, we'll stop.
You guys, your sound is a sound together. That's what I'm saying. Like you all sing together, you all play together. You guys are together. Whereas, and that's the brilliance of you guys. The harmonies, the Beatlesque harmonies, the tones, even your guitar tones and your pedals, they all work together.
Yeah.
Living Color has 4 different sounds.
Right.
All at once. But like literally, also you can each track separately and be like, and just enjoy it. But but separately and together, it all works together. That's the brilliance of them, is they can do 4 different things, and it's 4 things and 1 thing.
I remember going on tour with those guys back when Muzz was playing bass, and they would go into these like avant-garde jazz fusion pieces that were like in the middle of a regular song off the record, and I'm going, these guys understand that aspect of rock music. They brought jazz to it. They don't, when dUg came along, they don't go into that thing anymore. Doug's a different type bass player. But when Muzz was with them, they could do straight up jazz. I mean, just fusion jazz. You don't even know where the one is,
Another underrated bunch of guys, and Vernon's underrated, and Corey's voice. I mean, all of them. Just I can't say enough about them. All right, so the last piece, my boys, my 24/7.
Yeah, I love them.
You did.
Jimmy's the kind of guy that when I met Jimmy, it was like you knew the guy all your life. There was no introduction. There was no anything other than it's like you just felt like you knew each other. It was amazing, and we've always been that way. We're born on the same day, even though we're not the same age. We're not the same age, but so we have the same birthday. And I never knew much about 24 back in the day, because when we were coming out, there was so many metal bands and so much going on, and I was so wrapped up in me and doing King's X and whatever we were trying to do and dealing with all that crap that I never paid a lot of attention to the other bands around us. But when I got to meet Jimmy, then I started listening, and then I got to sing on the record, one of the records, and just getting to know those guys, it's just been a treat. Rick is one of the baddest ass bass players I've ever known. It's like he's got it all. And I mean, you want to do straight up funk, you want to do straight up jazz, you want to do straight up rock. That guy just steps up to the plate,
Yeah.
I mean, I love him. I mean, I'm me. That's about it, and that's why I love about him is this guy can nail anything and accurately. I'm the Mr. Sloppy, emotional guy who sings and plays bass, and I slide around everybody, and that's works. That's what King's X. But
it's hilarious. You are not that, and he actually puts himself down in a way too. He talks down. I don't think I've been a bass player that goes, you know what? I am the bomb. Every bass player, you guys all have like self-esteem issues. We're gonna do like a therapy group together or something.
Well, nobody gives us any love.
I'm good enough. We're gonna give you an extra string, 5 strings. That's it. We'll give you more strings.
Yeah. Bass players don't get the love. Singers do, guitar players do, drummers do, but you don't hear much about bass players. They really don't. And it ain't there's something wrong with it, but they're the ones that are in the background, and it's always been that way.
People, yeah, I agree. I don't think that way. In fact, you can see 3 this week. You see 3 bands, 3 bass players in a row.
I'm the singer in the band too. Sting, King's X, Cream. Any bass player that sings, you don't look at them as a bass player. You go, oh, that's a bass. They're always considered the singer, or they'll go singer bass player, but they hardly ever say he's the bass player of the band. They don't. It's like they don't even say nothing about it. I mean, does anybody talk about Sting's bass playing? Never. Do we know what he plays through? What strings he uses? Not a word. And that's what gets me. And same thing with King's X. I mean, I know I've gotten love, and it's good, but I always notice that usually across the board, it was always people want to talk about my voice. They hardly ever would. The only people want to talk about bass is Bass Magazine.
It's crazy because on your albums, your bass is all over the albums. Like there's just no escaping it.
Yeah.
If you don't like your bass, you can't listen to King's X or any of your projects.
I know. I know.
Yeah. To me, King's X was a guitar player, a drummer, and the bass player, and they all sang.
Yep.
That's how I looked at it from the beginning. That was it.
It's funny because I always think everything that I do, the bass is too loud. But what I realize is that bass just ain't loud enough, and I'm just playing bass like it's supposed to be.
That's good. It is all good, man. I want to thank you, man. This has been awesome. It's been hilarious.
I've had a good time.
Thank you for being on the show. Me too.